Thanks for joining us on TVC News at 7. It was a somber mood at the National Cemetery in Abuja, where the 17 soldiers killed in Okwama, Delta State, were buried. President Bola Tinubu announced scholarship for all children of the deceased officers till university level. He also ordered that their entitlements be paid to their families within 90 days. The president, in his remark, commended the deceased officers and soldiers, as well as the armed forces, for their commitment to securing the nation. He also assured that the perpetrators of the heinous act will not go unpunished. The deceased officers and soldiers were thereafter lowered into their graves as prayers were said for the repose of their souls.
Ours is a profession that deals with matters of life and death. When soldiers die in the hands of the enemies of the state, we take it as dying for what the nation has considered a just cause. We celebrate them as gallant heroes.
We will honor your memory by continuing the fight against those who seek to undermine our peace and security. We will remain steadfast in our resolve to build a nation worthy of your sacrifice. This sacrifice will not go in vain.
They will forever be remembered as heroes who answered the call of duty and paid the ultimate price. We have acknowledged your sacrifices to defend our country. It is now our duty to protect the families of our departed heroes. The federal government will provide housing in any part of our country to each of the families of the 4 officers and 13 soldiers that were among them. The federal government has also approved scholarship to all children of the deceased up to university level. Including those who are in the womb.
State House correspondent Femi Akonde was at the event earlier today in Abuja. He joins us for more. Femi, walk us through the highlights of the state interment. We'll get back to Femi. Okay, Femi Akonde, walk us through the highlights of the state interment.
Well, Femi, it was really, we discussed earlier, we talked about it at 6 p.m. It was really a sober moment for everyone that was there, from the commander-in-chief to the families of the fallen soldiers or the fallen heroes. President Bola Tinubu honored them with a posthumous national award and, promised that their families, the children, will be given scholarship up to university level. Houses will be provided for them. He also urged the armed forces, the army authority, to ensure that within 90 days, the entitlements of the fallen soldiers are paid to the families. This is indeed a morale booster, not just for the families, but also for soldiers still in service. He assured them that he acknowledges their sacrifice to the country and he does not take it for granted. But the one strong and clear message was sent out from that funeral today, and that is that the killers of these officers and soldiers will be found and punished, that their death will not be in vain. President Bola Tinubu called on the traditional rulers in Okwama community to support the army in fishing out these killers and ensure that they are brought to justice. We saw the Chief of Army Staff give his speech. The Chief of Defense Staff also gave his speech, strong words coming from both of them. Also continuing to urge their men not to be deterred despite all of these challenges, to still remain steadfast in defense of the territorial integrity of the country and to ensure that they keep the country safe. You know, and it's also the first time in a long time that the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces will personally attend the funeral of fallen personnel of the Nigerian Armed Forces. And this was quite commendable. And a lot of these military officers, we had them talk in whispers, appreciating this gesture by President Bola Tinubu.
Absolutely. And we also had the president there talk about how important the armed forces are to Nigeria, as he also went ahead to talk about the need or how the federal government would honor them. He did call them gallant soldiers who will be remembered as heroes and those who have paid the ultimate price for the country. The 4 gallant officers, we understand, Mr. President, has accorded the awards of the members of the Order of Niger. The 13 other soldiers awarded Officers of the Federal Republic Medal. He also indeed went on to talk about what the federal government will do for the family. Femi, perhaps you want to shed more light on the promises made by Mr. President earlier today.
Yes, Mr. President first granted scholarship to the children of these fallen heroes. He said these are national heroes and they must be honored. He granted scholarship to them. And, you know, I think about 3 of the widows of these fallen soldiers are pregnant. He said, including the children unborn, will be put on scholarship up to the university level, and that bill is on the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He said that they'll be given houses in any state of their choice, you know, and we expect that in the coming days, authorities will begin to reach out to these widows and the family of the officers and soldiers that were killed to work out the modality for the payment of their entitlement, the death benefit, and also work out how they can access all of these promises made by President Bola Tinubu, especially the scholarship and the provision of accommodation in any state of the Federation. Nifemi.
Absolutely. I know emotions run high, you know, as the remains of the soldiers were, you know, being buried. But did you speak with any of the family members? How are they reacting to the gesture of the federal government?
The family members were too grief-stricken to speak, and, you know, they asked that journalists respect their moment of grief and just give them privacy, you know. But we saw them broke down in tears when the bodies of these officers and soldiers were lowered into the grave at the military cemetery here in Abuja. We saw how emotional they were, how tears flowed freely down their cheeks, and all of that, you know. But, you know, we believe that, you know, after they have been able to at least overcome the initial grief of the funeral, they can then begin to understand, you know, the gesture of the federal government, because for now, you know, they just had that announcement, but by the time they start getting contacted by army authorities, that's when they might begin to understand what indeed the federal government or President Bola Tinubu has promised, and the timeline in the fulfillment of these promises made by President Bola Tinubu.
In addition to the benefits that would be paid in the next 90 days, Mr. President, as well as the hierarchy of the military, have also promised to bring the perpetrators to book. What more do we know about the ongoing investigation?
Well, that investigation is still on. President Bola Tinubu urged the traditional rulers in the Kwama community to cooperate with military authorities to find these killers and bring them to book. He also commended the army authorities for their restraint. You know, they have been all over that Okwama community and other neighboring communities in search of the killers. He commended their restraint, despite, you know, their loss and all of that. They have been able to refrain from carrying out reprisal attacks in that community. President Bola Tinubu said that indeed the innocent ones in that community must be protected at all costs and should not be allowed to suffer the guilt and to suffer the same punishment as those who are guilty and responsible for carrying out these brutal killings of officers and soldiers of the Nigerian army. But one thing the president said for sure, and the army chiefs, that is the chief of defense staff and the chief of army staff, is that these killers will be found and punished. Nifemi.
To the House correspondent live for us in Abuja. Thank you for the update, Femi. Staying in the nation's